Hello and welcome to another edition of PaynePoints of Interest, where we talk about and answer questions relating to all things business. This week, we have a special guest, David Saphir. He's an expert in cash flow management systems and has worked with many businesses all over the world in creating healthy cash flow systems. David holds a BA from SUNY Buffalo with a focus in international business and an MBA from the Thunderbird School of International Management in Phoenix, Arizona. He loves music, musical theater, and performing on stage. He's originally from New York and currently lives with his wife and 4 daughters in Salt Lake City. So stay tuned for all the topics we have on cash flow with David Saphir. I'm Sarah Harbeck, your host, and with me is Michael Payne, and we have our special guest, I can talk, David Saphir. Thanks so much for joining us today again, David. Appreciate it.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you very much, Sarah.
All right. So we've been talking about cash flow this week, and I have a very basic question, but I think it goes into several of the other topics you've sort of mentioned over the last couple of days. What affects cash flow? I mean, it's a super simple question, but I feel like it has a myriad of answers. So I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, that's a great question. Cash flow is affected by the money coming in and the money going out. So I want to focus in right now on the money coming in because there's two things really. You've got these expenses that you know about, your rent, the water bill, etc. But there's some variable things about money coming in. One is when you get paid. But I want to talk about this strange thing that happens is you've got a customer. It's a great customer, long-term customer, and they pay you on time every single time. But all of a sudden you do the accounting and you realize that it's costing you more to support the customer than the revenue you receive. And they are actually generating negative cash flow for you.
So could you give us a for instance, like a real world example of that?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to. Let's take, for example, a consulting firm.
Okay.
That they have a client that they've grandfathered in at the original consulting rate of $75 an hour because they need to get clients 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so they've always done that. But they've hired consultants and now there's overhead and a lot more cost, and their average cost is $100 an hour to provide the consulting service.
I see. Okay.
So they're losing $25 an hour to support the client.
Gotcha. With that grandfathered in clause.
Right.
Is there any, what's the word for it? Is there any like diplomatic way to renegotiate with these grandfathered in customers? Or do we just, say, hey, we're going to have to move up, and if they don't want to take it, how do you, in terms of cash flow, how would you go about advising a business to handle a situation like that?
That is a great question. Let's just take the consulting we talked about.
Okay.
Maybe there's additional services or products that you could offer that are profitable, and blended that they become a profitable client.
Okay.
That you don't worry about, it's like a loss leader. That's one way to go about doing it.
That's a more positive way for sure, definitely.
Right. You don't even have to talk to the client. But let's say there's nothing else they want to buy from you. That's it. The other one is having an open and honest discussion to the point of even opening up your books and showing them that you're losing money. I don't think anybody expects us to pay them to be our customer, which is in effect what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you just have the honest discussion and say, we expect to make 10% or 15%. So this is the new pricing. How does that sound to you?
That's a reasonable request, obviously. But sometimes when clients and customers have been grandfathered into a cost, I can't obviously assume as a consumer that the price that I paid 5 years ago is the price I'm going to pay today.
Right.
But some people do have that mentality, and it can be kind of tricky, and I'm sure people more diplomatic than me have had trouble, negotiating that, but if you, like what you said, show them in black and white, this is what's happening. We're losing money trying to accommodate you, and hopefully you can come to a more satisfactory resolution for everybody involved.
Sure.
How does that work with a product-based business?
Well, that's a really good question, because product-based is possibly easier to try to bring ancillary goods or services. Loss leader on the product, but you sell them a service contract that's very profitable. And so again, the client profitability mix becomes positive, and then that keeps them in your positive clients.
Yeah.
Selling them additional products might help. There's break-even amounts to say, listen, we can still offer that pricing, but you've got to buy twice as much at a time, so other costs go down, like shipping or other things. And there is actually possibly more flexibility with product-based businesses than there are with service-based businesses.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, because you have what seems like more to offer right up front, rather than with a service that may only be limited to one particular specialty.
And we've kind of seen that actually in a local coffee house that we're all involved in here. Sarah and her husband actually started that coffee shop. And what we've seen recently is kind of a transition. They sell coffee, but it doesn't occur to most small business people that you can put little things in there that really increase your profitability per customer, right? And this is a full retail operation. Right, so tracking that profitability and that cash flow per customer. Yeah, you may not make as much on coffee, right? But when they go and they buy 6 of those metal straws, that you're making a whole lot of money off of, since you bought them in bulk. You've now just turned a potentially minorly profitable customer into somebody who just went huge on the profit numbers, on the percentages. So
absolutely.
Correlated products in a product-based business, stuff that goes hand in hand with what you're selling, is something I actually end up having a lot of conversations with people about, and how that can really affect your cash flow drastically.
Well, and that also touches on a thing I wanted to quickly kind of get into. What you mentioned, aging inventory. How does that affect your cash flow? If you've had something in inventory for a year and you can't move it, I'm guessing that's what that means.
What it means is that your cash is tied up and you can't go buy something that's more profitable. There's something called inventory turns, or the turn rate. And it's velocity of money. It's a whole way of thinking about, if you have $100 and you can buy something and sell it once with a $10 profit, and you can do that 5 times in a day, you've made a $50 profit.
Right. Hey,
but if you can only do it once, you've only made a $10 profit. It's no different. The challenge that business owners get into is they think their inventory is gold, but what it is for the most part is eggs that are rotting on the shelf over time. And at some point, they stink so badly that nobody wants to buy them.
So what would you... So is in like I say, a product-based business, if you have something on the shelf that's been sitting there, do you offer it as a sale, as a clearance? You're trying to move it just to make even any kind of money back? Would that be the most normal and traditional way to go about solving that problem?
That is a traditional way, but I'll tell you, I had a client who had inventory that had receivables. He hadn't paid for it yet, and when he paid for it, he had to pay for his supplier. It was serialized stuff. And he had completely paid for inventory as well. Well, we had him pull all the stuff he owed money for off the sales floor and put everything that it was completely paid for onto the selling floor. So he didn't even have to discount it at all. He got to keep more cash in his pocket when he made the sale.
Okay, I'd never really considered that, but most of my businesses have been service based in the past, so it's not always something you think of naturally. But that's an interesting perspective to look at it for sure. If you have a business where you offer both products and services, how does one tackle that particular combination when it comes to cash flow? Because I'm guessing you're having to deal with several different types of things all at one time. Is it just a matter of organization?
You know what? That's a really big open-ended question, but let me just throw out some creative opportunities that you have.
Okay.
For example, on the product side, oftentimes when it's service and products combined, it's specialty, and you know what you're getting yourself into. And so you can actually buy stuff from your supplier and maybe get terms such as 60 days and have 30-day terms with your customer and actually get the cash in before it's even owed.
Okay.
And you can earn some interest on the cash if you're lucky. That's how Dell made all their money.
Oh.
Right.
Well, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Better terms with your suppliers and better terms with your customer, but those mean the exact opposite thing depending upon which side you're on.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. Right, because on the other side, your supplier's paying the interest on it, but they might be very happy to because they're in a good position.
Right.
So it all depends on your business. I wish I could give you one cookie cutter answer, but this is what makes it more complicated, but also for me more fun, is saying, okay, what's best for an individual business? And you go from there.
Yeah.
Depends on their customer base and what they're selling and how they're selling it.
And not everybody fits the same template. Well, thank you, David. I think that's going to wrap us up for today, but we'll have a whole other little cash flow topic for tomorrow. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
That's going to be all from us today. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, if you have any questions or comments or things you'd like to add to today's topic, or if you'd like to be a guest speaker, you can find us at our website, PaynePoints.com, Facebook and LinkedIn at PaynePoints, Instagram at Payne.points, and Twitter at PointsPayne. You can now call or text us at 855-729-6378, which is 855-PAYNE-POINT, PAYNEPT. Today's guest and this week's guest, David Safir. You can find his information on LinkedIn at dsafir, or you can go to his website, davidsafir.com, or email him at david@davidsafir.com. We hope everyone had a great day, and now let's get to work.